Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe, tap that like button, share with your fellow ghost hunters, and leave a chilling comment. Your support is what keeps this channel alive. I had always wanted to start a clothing business, selling apparel, but realizing how expensive rents were in the major cities, and since I was just starting out, I didn't want to risk losing too much money if the business failed. So instead of chasing a spot in the city, I decided to look in the suburbs, where rents might be more reasonable. As people always say, location is everything. I needed a place with good foot traffic. Luckily, I had a friend who worked in commercial real estate. I called her right away, explained what I was looking for, and asked if she knew of any suitable places. She wasn't sure at first, but promised to check. A few hours later, she called back. She had found a potential location and sent over the details. Excited, I asked if I could see it the very next day. She told me she already had another appointment, but would send one of her colleagues to show me around. That was fine, so we set the appointment. The next morning, I asked another friend to drive my car. Parking in that area was always a headache, and I didn't want to deal with it. With him driving, it was much easier to get around. The building was tucked down a side alley just off the main road. As we arrived, I could see a row of commercial units, about a dozen lined up together. The location seemed promising. Standing in front of one of the buildings was a woman who waved at me with a warm smile. I instantly knew she must be the colleague sent to show me the place. I told my friend to wait in the car and walked up to her. She was striking, dressed smartly in a suit jacket and skirt, exuding the confidence of a seasoned businesswoman.
"Are you Miss Waranya?"
She asked. That confirmed it. She already knew my name. She must be the one who was sent by my friend. She introduced herself, gave her name, and explained that it was a 4-story building. Before stepping inside, I glanced back to make sure my friend was still waiting in the car. Seeing him there, I followed her into the building. She lifted the rolling shutter gate, and I was immediately taken aback. Despite the daylight outside, the interior was almost pitch black. Hardly any light reached in. "Could you please turn on the lights? It's really dark in here," I said. The woman walked in, trying several light switches. She flicked them on and off repeatedly, but the lights would not turn on. She assured me that once the rental contract was finalized, she would arrange the electricity later. For now, we had to rely on the light from our cell phones to look around inside the building. As we stepped in, I noticed the ground floor was bare concrete. No tiles, nothing. It wasn't surprising, given that the rent was relatively low. We climbed to the second floor. The place was nothing but a wide open hall, no walls, no partitions, just emptiness. As the narrow beams of our phone flashlights swept across the room, the light caught on something at the far end. A wardrobe. Its doors were bound tightly shut with straps. Curiosity tugged at me. I took a step forward, wondering what could be inside. But before I could get close, the woman suddenly darted ahead. She threw herself against the wardrobe with a bang that rang through the building, then quickly said,
"It's nothing, just an old cabinet."
Her voice was too fast, too sharp. The sound of it unsettled me. I wanted to press, to know more. If I was going to rent this place, I needed to know everything. But I pushed the thought aside and moved on. During that time, I tried calling my friend to let her know I was now with the real estate agent she had sent, but the signal inside was terrible. So I decided to tell her later once I was outside and continued looking around. The air grew heavier with every step. Sweat rolled down my face, stinging my eyes. I tried to take photos, but my sweaty hands made it difficult. In the end, after seeing enough, I almost decided I didn't want the building and stopped taking pictures. Still, we went up to the 3rd floor. The moment I stepped in, my feet froze. Right before my eyes were 5 hospital beds, lined up side by side. From their appearance, I was sure they weren't new. They had clearly been used, straight out of a hospital where many might have died in them. My voice wavered as I asked, What are they doing here? The woman gave a quick answer.
Oh, these belong to the previous tenant. He ran a medical supply business.
I stared at her. These weren't unsold stock. I felt chills run through me because in Thai culture, hospital beds are believed to carry the lingering energy of sickness or death. They are thought to attract ghosts and can be considered haunted or unlucky, especially if they come directly from a hospital. The air grew unbearably hot. I asked to open a window.
No need, it'll be quick.
She said quickly. But I pushed past her words, slipped my hand through the iron bars, and forced the window open. Sunlight flooded into the room, illuminating thick dust floating in the air. I turned to the woman and said I would call my friend later to discuss the details and rental terms. In my heart, I had already decided. I definitely would not be renting this place. Still, she pressed.
Since we're already here, let's just go up one more floor to the 4th.
I no longer had any interest and tried to decline, but she kept urging and persuading. Not wanting to be rude, I thought, fine, I'll just finish the walkthrough, and reluctantly replied, okay. Before we went up, the woman asked me to close the window. I reached out, pulled it shut with a loud clunk, and turned back. But I didn't notice a chair right in front of me. I stumbled, nearly falling over it. Instinctively, I grabbed it to steady myself, and in that instant, as I looked down, I realized something terrifying. The woman's feet weren't there. My heart lurched. My breath caught. I blinked hard, looked again. Nothing. Just empty air where her feet should have been. I quickly pulled myself up, turned to look directly at the woman, and stepped back. She stood as if nothing were wrong, her face tilted in mild confusion. From head to toe, she appeared whole and perfectly normal, body, arms, legs, complete. It must have been a trick of the eye, I told myself. She turned then, without another word, and began climbing toward the next floor. I followed behind but couldn't catch up. She was walking up the stairs almost in a hurry. Before I reached the first step, she was already halfway up, turning around at the landing in the middle of the staircase, about to continue up in the opposite direction. And then she disappeared from sight, leaving me alone to climb after her. By the time I was halfway up the stairs, she was completely out of view. I figured she must have already reached the 4th floor. Convinced she'd simply gone ahead to the 4th floor, I pushed myself upward. But as I reached the top, the sight before me stopped me cold. A rope had been strung tightly from wall to wall, like a barrier. From it hung thick bunches of leaves, no flowers, only leaves, woven together in dense strands. Their scent was sharp and spicy, almost choking the air. I'd seen such things before, but only in places meant to repel bad spirits or trap misfortune. My pulse began to race. The woman was nowhere to be found. Panic rose as I called out her name, my voice cracking, and I swept my phone's flashlight over the empty space. The entire floor lay open, without partitions, nothing for anyone to hide behind. It was clear she wasn't there. A cold realization crawled over me. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Maybe the woman wasn't even real. Fear rising like a tide, I turned and hurried back down the stairs. But as I neared the 3rd floor, a man appeared, climbing up toward me. We startled each other. He asked in shock,
"Who are you? How did you get up here?"
Breathing heavily. I came up with the woman from the real estate agency, I said, giving her name. He immediately asked,
"Miss who? Who is she?"
I explained that she was a colleague of my friend from the real estate agency who had brought me to see the building, but somehow she had mysteriously disappeared. The man looked confused but quickly introduced himself and said there was no one by that name at the company.
"Your friend sent me here to show you the building, but I was surprised to see you here already."
As we stood talking, The man's eyes fell on the hospital beds arranged on the 3rd floor. My gaze followed his instinctively. Terrified, I decided I would just run downstairs, even if it meant pushing past him. But as I started to move, the man grabbed my hand and said,
Come on, let's get out of here.
We, complete strangers who had never met before, raced hand in hand to the ground floor. Once we reached the ground floor, both of us were shaken and confused. I found my friend, who had been waiting inside the car, and hurriedly asked if he had seen a woman go up with me earlier. He confirmed firmly that he had. This only made me more terrified. Together, the man and I called my friend and recounted the entire story, especially about the woman. My friend insisted that there was no such woman and that only this man had been assigned to show the building. The man admitted he normally wasn't responsible for this property. He was just filling in for my friend's request and had no prior knowledge of the building's history. Frustrated, I pressed my friend over the phone, demanding the truth about the place, but she refused to explain. Angry, I hung up. Not long after, however, my friend called back and finally revealed the story. She explained that the woman I had seen was most likely the wife of the building's owner. She had taken her own life about 5 years ago. The owner had used my friend's agency for many years, but in all that time, not a single tenant had ever moved in. As for the hospital beds, my friend claimed she had never known they were there and hadn't imagined such a thing. Yet both the man and I insisted we had seen them with our own eyes. The next day, my friend tried contacting the owner but could not get through. Eventually, she and her team went to inspect the building and indeed found the beds and wardrobes, just as I had described. The other strange things, the strung leaves, the wardrobes, and most of all the woman herself, who had vanished without explanation, remain a mystery to this day.